Hey, podcast listeners. Welcome to this week's episode of Lisi's All the Things podcast. Today we're discussing attorney bio best practices. As we all know, the law firm website bios are an extremely important part of your site because they are the second most highly viewed pages after the homepage, and we see this in the analytics time and again. In addition to the best practices, we're digging into how AI, artificial intelligence, can be used to support attorney bio creation and the potential risks of artificial intelligence. We're excited to share our thoughts with you listeners. Hi, everyone. I'm Ray Ritter, Director of Client Service and Marketing at Lisi. And today I'm joined by my brilliant colleague, Julie Ackerman, Lisi's Communication Manager and Legal Content Writer.
Hi, nice to be here with you.
Hey, Julie. So today, this is our monthly podcast, All the Things. And this month, Julie and I are talking about something that every attorney and legal marketing professional need to think about. Attorney bios.
Yeah, I know that this is something, first of all, of course, every attorney has to have a bio on their website. And I imagine everybody listening already has one, but it needs to be updated, and there's often room for improvement, let's say. Yeah, so our goal here is to give you some ideas to hopefully make it a little easier, a little less painful. In particular, we're going to get into talking about how you might be able to use AI or Chat GPT to help you a little bit.
Right. And that's something that we really weren't talking about a year ago or not even 6 months ago. I think that was not quite on our radar for the everyday user, but now it is.
Yeah.
So Julie, let's start with the basics. What are some of the things that need to be in every attorney's bio? And I think our focus now is really website bios, but of course these could be in RFPs and have other uses as well.
So before I get to the meat and the potatoes, this seems obvious, but I see a lot of bios that make it a little bit hard to figure out how to contact somebody. Like, make it very easy with your phone number, your email, however you want to be reached. Make that very obvious. So that's one thing. And then, of course, you want to describe what your current practice is, your whatever expertise you have. Well, you don't want to use the word expert. And then any, relevant past experience, education, any matters you've worked on that, either represent what you do or have been, certainly any landmark cases that you've worked on, you would want to mention. So you want to give a picture of your legal practice at present and past.
Mm-hmm. It's funny what you said about being able to contact you, because I've spoken with firms before who say, oh, we want people to stop calling our lawyers. We want them to call the main number or email. And it just seems kind of obvious. Then take the phone numbers off the bios if that's not the best way to contact the lawyers. If you prefer email, keep the email there. If you prefer the main, receptionist or whomever, put that number on the bio.
Right. Yeah. But whatever it is, don't make it hard for people to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, with so many attorneys in, each state, our country, how can any attorney make their bio stand out from everyone else?
Yeah, this is the challenge, right? And it's not just, we're not just competing with other people's bios or other attorneys. You're competing with all the noise on all the devices to get somebody's attention. So I think the number one thing with any kind of writing you do is to think about your audience. And then specific to the attorneys, with your bio, you want to include at least one or two personal details.
Mhm. So when you say audience, can you be a little more specific? What do you mean by that?
In this case, when you're thinking about who, I first think about who is reading your bio. Who do you want to be reading your bio? So who is it that you're trying to reach, attract? Is it current clients? Is it prospects? It's often opposing counsel, judges, that these are sort of typical answers I hear to that question. So think about, in your specific case, who do you want to be coming to the website and learning about you? And why are they coming? So
Mhm.
if it's a prospective client, what kind of problems are you able to help people with? And so, yeah, keeping your audience in mind, put the most important thing right up front. Here is how I help people in my practice. And
Mhm.
then from there, get into more detail. But like, frankly, nobody cares about if you were on moot court in law school.
No?
I mean, there are a lot of things, and I'm a lawyer. I get it. There are things that we're proud of as lawyers. But you really want to stay focused on what the person coming to the website is looking for and give them that as succinctly as you can.
Mhm. And I would add to that, I know our focus here is on the contents like terms of words, but I would add in the design, make sure that that intro, problem solving is upfront at the top because we know that people don't even read the whole bio, that
Mhm.
they may just be skimming, and to put that most important piece at the top and make sure that that's part of the design will help, achieve the goal of getting that, message over to your audience. So, so you also mentioned adding personal details. What kind of personal details you think would make sense in a website, in a bio for a law firm or for a lawyer?
Yeah, this one this one's a little tricky. I mean, maybe in every business, but particularly with lawyers, I do get a lot of resistance to this idea. And it is important to be professional and present oneself as a professional. And at the same time, you want to show your human side. People. We say this a lot here with at Lisi. People do business with people, and so if in my bio you see that I love rooting for the Philadelphia sports teams and traveling in Europe, that's it's just like a little something somebody can latch on to. And you might think, well, I'm a Giants fan, so, but like just a way to connect as a human outside of, the business purpose that you're there for, I think is really important, and a way to it's a missed opportunity, I think, if you're not doing that.
Mhm. Okay, so taking this kind of the other direction, humans and people with personalities, let's move the other end of the spectrum and talk about artificial intelligence for a little bit. Can is artificial intelligence or AI and all these tools that are out there, is it reasonable to try to use them to help lawyers and legal marketers with their bios? And, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's so good question. AI is in its infancy. It's new
Mhm.
to, if not all of us, the vast majority of us. So I just myself have just started to play around with how it can help in the work that I do in writing with lawyers and for lawyers. So what it will not do, I'll just say right up front, is it will not, you can't say like, hey, Chat GPT, write my bio for me and expect to have a finished, good
Mhm.
product.
Mhm.
Um, but ways that it has really helped me is in brainstorming is one way, and getting over that hump of looking at a blank screen, having something you need to write, and just being stuck. Like those are two ways that I have personally found AI to be helpful.
So, what can you go into more detail about how you would use AI to brainstorm?
Yeah. Yeah. So in this case, it's a little different depending on what it is you're trying to produce. So for your bio, it's kind of cool because you can ask questions. Like it's sort of like a conversation. So,
Mm-hmm.
I opened up ChatGPT and I typed in, what elements should every trust and estate lawyer include in their bio? And it gave me a whole list of things. Or And this one I think I actually liked even more was, what do people want to know before hiring a trust and estates lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
Because that one, can help put you in the shoes of the person who's coming to you for help. Like it's sometimes hard to shift our mindset from, being the lawyer to being the person who's looking for legal services.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I thought both of those were, again, it's not perfect. It's not as if I got a list and then I was going to use every single thing that it gave me, but it was just a way to kind of get the wheels turning. And as lawyers know that the question you ask is very important as to what answer you're going to get. So, you definitely want to play around and ask some different questions to
Mm-hmm.
see what results you get.
I've been doing a lot of research on AI, and I think that, working with lawyers who are just traditionally risk averse, many are at least, I think we have to talk about some of the risks of AI. I think, like you're saying, if you're just brainstorming and using it as a tool, it's you still go through the process of evaluating each piece of information, each line that comes out, and deciding, is that something I want to apply or not. But let's kind of list off a few of the risks, including, there's these things called hallucinations, where the output can be literally just made up content or made up cases, or pointing to data that is actually not even real.
Hmm.
um, and another major one is privacy, because you're putting something in. Where does your question, and where does that go, and how can that be used? So attorneys need to be really mindful of the way that they're using it. If you put in your whole resume that has your email and your phone number, does it then take that and then use that as part of its own information that it's learning from? That would be pretty scary.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Lawyers are, if not risk averse, we're definitely risk sensitive,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we're always looking for. And yeah, like for me, I had tried, and I'll keep playing with it, but I've tried to use it to help with research, thinking like, oh, maybe this will be like, save me time on research. But actually, what I found is that it took me as much, if not more time, because whatever answers I got, I then would have to check them. So I
Hmm.
was like, it
Hmm.
was almost like double research, like asking it to research and then researching everything it gave me. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so yeah, those points are very well taken. And I would just add that AI does not understand our ethical obligations as a lawyer. So, just before, as you would check anything that you produce for your ethical obligations, that was certainly even more so true with something that you're using this tool for.
You were in preparation for this podcast. You mentioned that um, you had a story that you put in a question and you were surprised by the output.
I was, yeah, as I've been saying, I've been playing around with this, and so I thought, well, okay, let's see if what would happen if I asked ChatGPT to just write a bio. So I copy and pasted information from a bio and said, please, just said write an attorney bio for me from using this information. And it was really interesting. It was helpful because it took, what was bullet points and list of job experience, and put it into paragraph format. So I was like, okay, that's something. But the language was it looked almost like it was like a high school student trying to sound like a lawyer. So like the words, mostly made sense, but there was just a lot of extraneous legal or legal sounding language thrown in. And it just did not seem like a human, certainly not like a human attorney, but even didn't even sound like a human wrote it. So um, again, helpful as far as like if you're like really stuck and just like, having trouble even just getting those first words out, I think it's a great tool just to get over that initial hump. But that is step one. Definitely not, just step one.
Right. It's not taking your job away yet.
Yeah, not yet. One
and
day.
it's not a human. So you said before, adding some personal elements gives your bio a human factor. This is literally the opposite of
Yeah,
that. So
absolutely.
I thought it would be interesting to ask AI what risks are associated with using AI for writing a lawyer bio.
So meta.
Tell me what your faults are. So, the results were mostly, things that we had already talked about and thought of, but there were two things that I hadn't, investigated further and I hadn't thought of. So I thought it was interesting, like you said, if you're brainstorming or looking to like kind of fill in information. So one of the answers was keyword stuffing. So if you tell your query, write this with search engine optimization in mind, the output could be, could overuse keywords or even employ outdated SEO practices. And then that could negatively impact your search engine rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it would impact your user experience if you are a human person reading a page of content that's repeating keywords in a robotic way. You're definitely not going to, think that you have a feel that that person has a human element. And the other one, and I thought this is interesting too, because like you said, AI is still, pretty new to us. I mean, think about like how old the internet has been, or how long the internet has been widely used, and what the internet looked like in the 90s compared to today. So, we're like in the 90s of the internet with AI. So the
Mm-hmm.
other thing that it mentioned was reputation risk, that if your peers or clients or whomever find out that you used AI to write something, could they perceive that you're lazy or unprofessional, or could it damage your reputation in some way? And I just thought that was interesting because we don't know how people are perceiving AI right now. It's not, I would say people's feelings about it are not uniform. So it's just, that was an interesting one that AI offered as an answer.
Yeah,
So
it's like, be careful. Not everybody agrees with me.
yeah, exactly.
But no, I've actually seen a couple of stories about lawyers submitting briefs
Mm-hmm.
and not checking them. And apparently there are tools that it's very easy to see if it's something AI generated. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were caught submitting legal briefs that were not, that were AI generated. And has caused, a lot of problems for them. And I think just some more caution in the industry overall about, how to use it, how it's okay to use it. And I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of, lawsuits and ethical rules. And, there's going to be all kinds of things coming, I think, to give us more guidance. But
Mm-hmm.
for now, at this stage, I just, proceed with caution, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So, as we proceed with caution, can you give us some examples of some queries that you found helpful using AI to support website bio writing or brainstorming?
Yeah, I thought I found the resume exercise interesting. Might be worth trying, especially with with your own resume, because exactly
Mm-hmm.
how accurate it is or not. So that might be just something interesting to try. And if you're worried about the personal information, of course, you can leave out your phone number and email and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also, one of the queries I tried was, how can AI make a lawyer bio more interesting? And it gave me a list of ideas to think of. So I think, getting creative and just playing around with it. It may not take you where you want to go exactly, but it at least is for food for thought. It really can give you some good food for thought. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's my main thing, is get in there, play around, and be creative.
Yeah, cool. So, what would you say, we've talked about the key aspects that belong in a website bio. What do you think our key takeaways are for our audience about attorney website
Key
bios?
takeaways. I think, again, if you work at a law firm, the bios, there will be, a style guide for, what kind of the format they should be in and the voice. Very likely there will be guidelines like that. So within that, though, to give the most important information about you up front. So, what is your practice? How do you help people? Um, and, to keep that audience in mind with everything that you include. Why would this matter to somebody coming, to learn about me?
Mm-hmm.
And, again, that little personal touch, I think, really helps too.
Mm-hmm. Well, Julie, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. And thank you, listeners. Please look out for our upcoming blog post about attorney bio best practices, and that's coming out in our August newsletter. And listeners, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow our almost every week live streams on LinkedIn, which are also replayed as podcast episodes.
You have been listening to All the Things, the podcast from Legal Internet Solutions Incorporated, where we bring you all the things. Whether it's 3 things we learned, hearing from a legal marketing insider, an Ask Me Anything session, or that one more thing we've been dying to tell you all month long but couldn't. That's all the things. Our next episode will be out in a week wherever you get your podcasts. And you can join us for the live events every Friday at 12:30 Eastern on our LinkedIn channel for our live stream where we bring you all the things live.